Good morning. We'll call the meeting of the Municipal Airport Authority of July 25th, 2023 to order. So we have a few of you on the phone at this point. So, looks like everybody's muted, so don't forget to unmute as we run through the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of July 11th?
So moved.
Second.
Call the roll.
Engen.
Aye.
Berg.
Aye.
Ekman.
Aye.
Osborne.
Aye. We have a motion to approve the airport vouchers totaling $238,775.23.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
call the roll.
Engen.
Aye.
Berg.
Aye.
Ekman.
Aye.
Osborne.
Aye. Do we have a motion to approve the individual vouchers A through F on your agenda?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
I just had a question on Border States paving. What is that? What's being done in the East Economy Lab?
They're still finishing that lot. It's just part of the open contract with Border States. They're the primary contractor.
Okay.
And there's still a few punch list items left to do with their subcontractor, American Fence. We met here last week, and things to do with the cable, the signage on the cable, some concrete bollards, some things with the fence. So there's still a punch list that VDOT is working on.
Okay.
All of this particular payment is for a sign that Dakota 3D Specialties had put up last year that got missed on payment, so it's just
Okay. I was just curious because it just seems like we keep doing stuff out there.
correct. Yeah.
Should be
Okay.
done at some point.
Yeah.
There's a lot of retainage left, so there'll be some big payments coming up.
Okay. All right.
All right, call the
Thank you.
roll.
Engen.
Aye.
Berg.
Aye.
Ekman.
Aye.
Osborne.
Aye. Item number 4 is certify the, certify the mill levy to the city commission, and in the strange way we do it, it's a request for 1.7 million, not to exceed 2 mills.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion is second.
Just from a discussion standpoint, maybe just recap where we are with that whole process right now.
Yeah, we've, with the MOU, we're required to appear before the city commission and explain how the mills that were applied for last year were used and what we are seeking the mills for this coming year and how they'll be used. In our joint meeting with the city commission, we went through that. And this next step after this, I think I'll appear at the city commission when this goes on the agenda. I know that it'll be a discussion item or Commissioner Strand, I don't know.
We're receiving our preliminary budget Monday,
Okay.
and I think the deadline is the end of this month for the preliminary budget. I think certification is beginning of October or so, so I would anticipate in that time there'd be a more formal meeting, but I don't know. But it's being certified as of Monday, which would include your 2 mill request
Right.
at this point.
And so,
Good.
as we schedule that, we can certainly all show up.
Yeah, I think, I mean, from my perspective, I'm assuming that everything is going forward. I would say if there's any concern or something like that, then it'd be important for the rest of our board to know that.
Yeah.
But unless there's some concern or issue, I don't know if we want to, all show up and scowl at the city commissioners.
My sense, Mr. Chairman, is our joint meeting accommodated that this year.
Yeah.
As far as the joint meeting and sharing, and
Sure.
so but I'll keep you posted as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, and whatever we need to do, I'd be happy
Yeah.
to show up and answer any questions.
No, and I think from my perspective, I think it's been a very, very good discussion. And I think clearly we have some major infrastructure improvements that are long-term beneficial to the Fargo community as well as the region. And 100% of the mills and taxes are going directly towards those long-term improvements. And so, yeah, and I think we've got to a point, in my opinion, that everyone understands that and feels comfortable with that. So I also like to thank Sean and Joan for putting together the mill levy summary. And I think that might be good, not that we need to do it now, but it might be good to share that at one of our meetings here, just because I think one of the things that gets missed in these deals is really the whole history of the mill levy, why it's there, what other airports are doing, how they're using it, what it really intended for. And I think it might be good at some point here in the next few months to kind of lay that down. Because I believe the legislature at some point authorized this because they knew how important airports were. And they also were pretty clear in kind of what they wanted it to go for. So again, no issues, but I just think that work was good work, and we should know that, and the city commission should know that.
I can't speak to what each political subdivision is using their mill levies for. I would imagine it's a combination of some just for operations, some just for infrastructure, and some for a combination. Without calling each one, I don't know exactly what they're using it for.
Well, I think it's just good to see that. I'm not saying we need more work, but, I mean, from my perspective, just personally, I've always struggled with, we're a regional airport here, truly. And we're not just a Fargo airport. And to some degree, we ought to think, is there a way this region can support the airport more rather than just the city of Fargo? Because the growth in these businesses, a lot of them are in West Fargo and Horace and, Moorhead. And, we all understand taxation. And everyone's fine with everything unless it costs you a nickel more on your taxes and you don't want to do it. And so, I don't have any, obviously, solution, but I think it would be good for us to be more aware of how other people are doing it. I'll shut up.
Well, no, and you bring up an item that was 1969 when they came to this formation of the airport authority. It might be time to take a look and see what a regional airport authority would look like and what would be the appetite for that and what would have to be accomplished.
Yeah, maybe without our county commissioner here today, we can pass something to have the county pick up a couple mills. I'm teasing.
There is an extensive historical.
We're recorded too here, right? I better erase that.
Yeah. An extensive historical file on setting up a regional airport authority. Mayor Lindgren was part of that. There's quite a bit of data and background on that from way back in the 70s. Moving forward, chatting with Bernie Dardis and some others, there was interest in moving forward with the regional airport authority. I think some folks outside of the area got wind of it, and then conversations kind of stopped again. But Grand Forks is a good example of regional airport authority. Now, lying up there, the airport director would be willing. Gary Ness, previous Aeronautics Commission director, and current director Kyle Warner can come in and assist with what that looks like at other areas around the state, and then just put a team together to make that happen. I think it's long overdue. It's just I don't know if there's the political will in some of the other smaller subdivisions to move forward with it until they're properly educated on what a regional airport authority would do for them.
Well, I think that would be really good for me and maybe our board is just maybe at some point take 15 minutes and say, here's where it ended up. What did we learn from last time this effort was done? And then decide if it's something we want to put any effort into or not.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to approve the certification of mill levy. Call roll.
Hagan.
Aye.
Berg.
Aye.
Beckman.
Aye.
Crosby.
Aye. All right, item number 5, we have notice from the FAA. They want to exercise their 5-year option on their lease. It appears the rate has already been negotiated on that as part of the original lease, so it is what it is. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Call roll.
Hagan.
Aye.
Berg.
Aye.
Beckman.
Aye.
Crosby.
Aye. Item number 6, CNH Industrial wants to change their free trade zone designation a little bit there, which the airport is the lead on the foreign trade zone. We just need to approve this.
So
Go ahead.
are they going to expand their building?
No, this is just the open grass area to park equipment that is part of the foreign trade zone that's waiting for export. This is the old Bueller property, 1330 43rd Street North. I spoke with Lynn yesterday. There was a change in leadership at the Pembina Port for people that are in charge of this. Brad Stroud isn't there, so it's being filtered through some other folks that are in, I guess, on vacation right now. So it's pretty urgent on their part just to expand it. We did that with just a couple of letters to get the original fielding footprint that's in the orange there, added here just a couple of years ago. And now they're just opening that open field. So it's in customs hands right now. This is just an FYI to let the public record that we're in insurance with the.
It just has to be a designated area that their equipment or parts or whatever they have are sort of considered in special area. And
So this is over in the industrial park.
Yes.
It's not even close to us.
no, it just allows them not to pay their taxes and fees on that until it comes out of that area.
Sure. So they bring the parts in, they assemble the, whatever it is, without paying taxes, and they sell their final product and pay taxes on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I think it's a great thing that this airport has done over the years, and, you know, be a real opportunity for us to, again, maybe expand that with other manufacturers that are bringing stuff in.
We're trying, we work with the trade office and
Sure.
DC to do what, Digitease, the other operator that we have active here in Fargo. Been working with Bobcat, CI Apparel, the refinery in Mandan, manufacturing plant, Horsch, Henderson out in Mapleton.
Oh, really?
And then there's another one, yeah. So we have 6 sites that go all the way out to Castleton for our foreign trades. Center Brothers had looked at it for grain, but.
So like Horsch, that's free trade out by Mapleton where their building is.
But they haven't activated, so it's a process. And then there's a one down in South I-29, I forget the name of that company down there that's looked at it as well.
And it has to be parts that are just coming through the air then?
Air or ground, as long as they're in bond, the company, they use those in the manufacturing process, avoid paying all the duty and tariff on them, and then they can ship those back out. We also have a group that the trade office connected us with in Bismarck that's working on a project out there as well. So they can either select us or Grand Forks. We're the only 2 foreign trade zones in the state. I don't know if Grand Forks has any active operators right now. They had the Buy Nation plant down in Lockton years ago, but then that went away.
Oh.
So we're the only active grantee that has operators right now. But, anyone in the state, we can set up a subzone anywhere in the state for funds, foreign trade zone. As long as customs concurs, because.
But not Minnesota.
Not in Minnesota. We do have a partnership with Customs in Minnesota for DigiKey and Thief River Falls and the plant here. So we've allowed the Minnesota customs officials to inspect the plant here versus the guys that are right across the road. But Minnesota held on to that
Sure.
for inspection.
Probably a fee involved in that.
Correct. So that's.
All right. So we have the motion, all right, we just receive and file this?
Correct.
Okay. Just a motion to receive and file.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Call roll.
Hang it.
Aye.
Bird.
Aye.
Heckman.
Aye.
Osborne.
Item 7, airport fire and rescue, attending a conference in September in Milwaukee. Motion to approve.
So moved.
How many people are attending?
Chief Noyes, do we just have one attending? You took your mute off, but we can't hear you. Chad, are you on there?
Maybe not.
Okay. Well, there's one for sure, no more than 2.
Okay, I second.
A motion to second, call roll, please.
Engen.
Aye.
Bird.
Aye.
Heckman.
Aye.
Osborne.
Aye. Item number 8 is a discussion about crisis management. I think John, items that you would like to discuss?
Well, I've been visiting with Paula off and on, and this whole topic of communicating to the public is something that just after what happened in Fargo, July 14th with the police incident, I've just had my eyes opened about how utterly complex that is. You know, just in this instance right now, our media team, our comms department with 12 people is almost working full time, managing the messaging, managing the narrative, managing the information, relating to everybody. So I guess my thinking is this is, you know, if something ever happens again, I don't know what level of preparation we would have or have available to us. But we have an example locally of a depth of resource available that at a minimum would be, I think I'd like to see us have a discussion about how could we formalize that being available to the airport if it's ever needed? Or if we don't have a crisis similarly at the airport, how do you know you have that type of depth on your bench to address this type of immense stress? Our comms department is just their role right now, 24/7 over the weekends. I mean, it's just beyond comprehension. So it's just a thought. You know, my eyes are open like, oh my goodness, this is just amazingly far-reaching. And as you're talking about your relationship to the public, and you're all looking about how you communicate to the public, I would just put that on your radar. If ever something happened, are we prepared for that? And or if so, how would we get there? And or how do we anticipate being on the ready? And I don't know I don't know the answers. I don't know any, but one suggestion I would offer would be that we, if at a minimum, see if like for example, our comms department has taken over the entire police operations about 2 years ago or so, I think. I couldn't imagine what that would be like if they had one person before that. So it's in the air right now and up in the ether, and I know you're all processing your future, and there's a lot of example there to study and to look at and learn from and maybe glean from, or maybe partner if something hits. I don't know, but it's.
Well, you'll be happy to know that they are already part of our airport emergency plan.
Are they?
And they have been for years.
Okay.
So the city of Fargo partners with us on our triennial exercise. Everything to do with police and fire, we have a partnership with if there's an incident at the airport or surrounding. Even if it's an incident that the airport isn't involved with, but yet the incident ends up at the airport. For instance, a driver crashing through a gate or something with here. We've done that for years. Work with them on the messaging of those incidents. So they are an active part of our airport emergency plan through mutual aid. They've done that for years. So we do have that relationship in place.
What might be good, Sean, would be to really drill down. What's that mean? You know, how far does that go? How much of their team shows up to what level, when, and where? I don't know. It's beyond my beyond my fathom. The role they've been brought into.
The direct connect to get to those are through the fire and police department.
Yeah.
The leadership there that reaches out, that wants someone from crisis communication or the city's communication to go, since they're their spokesperson. That's where it's engaged. So if there's an aircraft incident that happens here on the airport or someplace in town, it's through police and fire that engage that resource of the city to assist us with the messaging. That's how it's always been. That's how it's written up in our plan.
And maybe we just talk it through. How would it look? How would it unfold? How far would it go? We're 2 weeks into this already almost, 10 days, you know, and it's still nonstop. So I don't, maybe it's all spelled out already. Maybe it's very clear. Maybe when people say they're available, I don't know.
We just reviewed the plan. Chief, when was our tabletop exercise? It's just in the last couple of months, Jordan? Yeah. So they're all active players in that role. Police, fire, Red River Dispatch, FM ambulance, the hospitals. I mean, they all get together and go through the tabletop. Next year we have an actual triangle exercise where they respond to an incident at the airport. Through that. Every 3 years we have to do that for the FAA. So like I say, I think they're an active integral part already. in that. The other thing to keep in mind is their role is much different, the airport's role is much different. For instance, let's say a Delta flight has an incident, but they make it to the airport. Okay, so the incident's on the airport. Let's say that same flight has an incident, but they end up on 76th Avenue South and 25th Street. Our role is much different than that. The city takes the lead along with the highway patrol. We may or may not respond to it. It all depends, because our trucks don't fit down a lot of the roads. So we'd have a much different response off the airport versus on the airport, with the lead jurisdiction would be. If it's in Moorhead, Dilworth, West Fargo, or someplace in Cass County. If it's an arriving flight, it's a much different response than a departing flight.
And
Arriving flights, you have loved ones that are here, which take a different focus from the airport. The departing flight, most of them are already gone. So,
And my thinking was probably affected by when Mr. Robinson presented, he was talking how Flint would be the responder. And and I just don't know, I don't know.
they work because they understand the airport side of it,
Mhm.
but they work, and they have in the past worked in conjunction with the spokespeople from them. That's what we did with the fatality here at the airport a few years ago. Worked with, at that time, there was a public information officer from the police department, and they're able to work through that.
So that would be the city again now. Anyway, it's just a thought. Maybe if we just kind of explore what's it look like, how it unfold, how far to go, how much do your services continue with? I don't know.
It's a very timely conversation,
It's,
specifically after what happened just 10 days ago in the city of Fargo, and the far-reaching news, even on a national level, everything from Jake Walling's hometown and funeral arrangements. and the
Exactly,
Shield
it's-
Center, and there's a lot. And I think that we were assured at the meeting with Norm Robinson that Flint would be taking the lead on that. And so if you're telling us that it's been a 12-person, 24-hour job for the last
It's-
10 days, then I think it would
On
be
the airport
worth
side, Flint,
exploring how that looks for us if the need ever arose, how that,
So it works well. So for instance, on Sunday, American came in, no hydraulics on their aircraft. They landed, had to be towed off the run. KVLY calls Flint, they get a hold of me to make a statement on something like that. So it works fine, but Fargo Fire would have responded to that. So if there's anything on the city side where police and fire respond, that's where the city would come in and speak on their behalf. We don't speak on behalf of the Fargo Police Department or the Fargo Fire Department.
I would just like to say the communications the city did was outstanding.
has been.
It was like the best I've ever seen. I mean, usually when you see something like that, there's all kinds of crazy talk and rumors and things and people. And I thought just the approach was a calm approach, and they brought in, local law enforcement, federal law enforcement, state, federal. I mean, I just thought that whole thing, as a citizen, I just felt really comfortable that it was a terrible tragedy, and to see that people reach out and support the police and what we're doing was great, but also just the whole process. And so I've been reading the Stoics a little bit, and one of the quotes from the Stoics is, "It's impossible to learn what you think you already know." And we have no idea what it's like to go through that. And I think your offer this morning is just tremendous, John. I think the fact that if there's a severe crime, a death, something like that, I mean, obviously Flint represents the airport, but I think making sure that we have a controlled communication out to the public to keep them calm, keep them confident, it's just really outstanding. So again, I don't know where this goes, but I would really encourage us to think about, and Flint, I'm sure, would be all about figuring out a coordination, but when something happens, a trigger, severe injury, a death, a crime, that everyone's brought in and we're communicating the same way. And and I think just this whole thing, there were certain people, police chief, attorney general, that kind of were the spokesman. And it wasn't like this kind of mess of everyone trying to get in front of a mic and do that. So again, I was very impressed with what happened there, and I would like to think that if some gunman came here or got in and we had a similar deal at the airport, I'd like to see us do it the same way.
And if nothing else, we assure their relationship on your bench as your available team and know what that means and have that clear on every side. You know, I don't know. I just think it's timely.
I assure you that in our part of the team have been for years.
Yeah,
It's in place.
Yeah, I'd like us to talk it through.
I'll give you another
Um,
example is like when we did the active shooter training
Mm-hmm.
down here. That was a joint effort on the reporting of that between Flint and the city.
Mhm.
And we'll do that again if there's drug interdiction or training and so forth. So it's in place, but if you want to review it, that's fine, but it's there.
I just think we can learn from what
Sure.
happened, because they did an outstanding job, and for us not to, you know,
Maybe we could bring Greg in and discuss the plans that we have in place
That wouldn't
and,
hurt.
and the
He's a-
partnership
Mhm.
that we have already in place.
Like, I'll be dumb for a moment, okay? Let's say something happens. Who pays the bill? I mean, it's that simple sometimes. If we start engaging teams of people, and at what point? I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's got, whatever our understanding or MOUs or under relationships are, where's the responsibility lie? I mean, you know, if you get 10 days out and you've got a full office of people working full time, you might, oh my goodness, this tab is growing, and we don't know if we've anticipated how we'd cover that or who would cover it. I don't
Yeah,
know.
that's spelled out in our emergency plan and
Good.
mutual aid agreements. So if it's an incident that involves an airline, you start accounting for everyone's time that's involved with it.
Okay.
That's how it's been in place for years.
So I think what I'm hearing is, it might be beneficial just to have a briefing by the director
Our comms director, maybe.
comms director and Flint and how they interact through a process.
or maybe
And-
John can coordinate that with the comms director and Sean and Flint, or, because I think clearly what we are doing needs to be understood as well, so.
And I think there's a lot of variables, just like you said, if it happens on airport property, if there was an emergency landing on 18th Avenue North, if there's, you know, depending on, is it an active shooter, is it a emergency landing, there's a lot of variables that can happen that would cause the airport, you know, to be in a position of communicating with the
If
public.
it involves the military or National Guard, that's a whole different scenario that's spelled out in the plan. They take the lead on that. And that's already in place. So,
Alright, so
I look forward to learning more about the whole process, so I have a better sense of it too.
coordinate that
Yep,
for a future meeting.
And if you don't, I'm kind of communicating with Paula, if you don't mind, if you can be my point person, but.
Alright,
Lucky you.
I know.
Lucky me.
There you go.
alright. So we have our same selection committee proposed for the parking ramp and elevated walkway for the CMAR. Mr. Engen, you're still willing to serve?
Yes,
Okay, same
just
compensation,
not today as I'm fishing in 15 minutes, so.
same compensation as last time.
Let's double it.
Double it?
Thank you.
Okay. Alright.
So Matt Doobie is the licensed architect from Mead and Hunt, and Jeff Klein will be the licensed engineer, and then Ben from Enclave, Ben Whalen from Enclave is the contractor. So same group, we'll get together. Those RFPs are due on August 9th, and they'll be turned over to that selection committee to go through their ranking of those, and then we'll bring that before the board, along with the architect RFQs on August 22nd for your consideration.
We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Motion second, call the roll.
Engen,
Aye.
Herb.
Aye.
Beckman.
Aye.
Conklin.
Item number 10, airport construction and security update.
Who wants to go first, Terry or Jeff? Or maybe there's nothing for Terry.
I don't really have much other than, we finally trying to get,
That's fine.
the dump is, the Fargo dump is in a little quandary with regards to, I think, some of their procedures that, they've been asked to change. And so we went from, taking the whole thing over there and abating it there to, they don't want us to abate it there, they want us to abate it and then bring it over. And so anyway.
What he's talking about is the old exit.
Yeah,
doors
the old
from
exit.
the west exit plaza
And
that are
they're
sitting
just,
out there.
it's just, so I'm not even sure if they're still over there, Jeff, or.
They were taking them apart yesterday.
They're literally cutting them in half and then in quarters. And then they take the, really most of it is caulking and stuff, so there's hardly anything other than that. And they take that off, they put it in a bag, and then it goes to the dump. But, so it used to be that they just take the whole thing and put it in the dump, but now they want it separated, they might have a separate plant to put in, I'm guessing, so. It's been a little confusing because we went back and forth on different ways to do it. But we're getting it done.
Because of the asbestos?
Yeah.
Okay.
So can you speak to, so the exit plaza, one of the little glitches they found is that when they went to run hot water to cut the power out.
Brilliant.
Yeah, so they put an inline water heater that drew more amperage than probably the whole thing, so there was kind of a mix up on the electrical side.
Okay.
It's not just putting in a water heater, and that's been done at the expense of the engineers.
Okay.
It's a water heater issue. They couldn't run hot water, all of a sudden to kick up the breaker.
I figured out, you did not tell me that.
Joe's aware of it, yeah.
Yeah, Joe.
So they're taking care of it.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Could we have a tour of the facility now that it's
Certainly
completely?
could.
We'll just arrange that with Jay out there or.
Yeah, yeah. That would probably be more their reports than.
In fact, when you,
It won't take long.
You're actually just park out there, we can call ahead and let them know that some board members want to go through it, so when you exit the lot, stop up there today.
I would love that.
It's really unbelievable. It'd be like going to the bathroom in an outhouse or having a toilet, so. It's
You should have did it before and after, you
It's
should have
a
went
drastic
through the ones before they tore it down to now, there's no comparison, so. So if you want to do that today, we can call ahead and just say, hey, some board members are gonna stop knocking the north door and go.
Sure. Okay.
Jeff?
All right, on the long-term parking lot, Superior Electric is still working on the electrical and the communication lines. It's been, kind of a tedious process because for a couple of reasons, there's just a lot of old power and comm lines coming into that area, because it was the old exit plaza that they have to go in, they have to lower them, they have to make modifications, and then you couple that with, the site is old, so like just the asphalt conditions are, shaky at best. So they're supposed to be done with that, at the end of this week, and then Northern can get in there and actually do the paving, so, when Northern does come in, and speaking with Dave Johnson there, he said it would probably only be a week or two, and they'd have it all paved, so, pending weather and everything, so.
And is that
It'll come together.
this parking lot or the east parking lot? Which parking lot?
The west side of the long term where the old exit.
Okay.
plazas. Yep,
Okay,
yep, right.
all right.
So,
And then what about the center area where there's a fair amount of potholes or?
yeah, so that's just, that's part of the project, they're doing some pavement patching, I haven't been out there recently to see where they're at, but in the end, we'll touch every part of the lot just to, basically take care of the major problem areas, so that's in the works. And then on the North Shade apron, that really started full scale yesterday, so, they're just, basically stripping topsoil at the moment, waiting for all their storm sewer pipe to come in, which will be, I'm told, around the middle of August, so they're going full scale. Any questions?
Our security system upgrade, we're getting closer.
Getting closer, a couple of things, I'll have a change order at the next meeting for a printer and some UPS devices, as well as an additional camera over at the east terminal, and then we have to add some, I don't know all the details on this to be very honest with you, but we have to add some touch pads at all the gate locations, we're just waiting for those to come in, so.
The clarity of the cameras is second to none, so it's up and running. Jordan and Darren can look at it, I don't know how to operate it, but the new camera system is really, really good.
Yeah, it was a funny story. I was over at the East Economy lot here a couple weeks ago, and I get a call from Darren, and he's like, "I can see you on the camera." So he was watching me the whole time.
So then if somebody's car was hit in the parking lot or broken into, we could actually have
It doesn't cover, yeah,
buildings and the gates.
right.
the
Yeah,
buildings and the
so-
gates. Okay, all right.
Nothing in the park.
Well, I'd just like to thank you for taking the time to go over the master plan with me the other day.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
we can meet anytime,
really,
you know,
really
just to get you up to speed on anything, more than willing to do that, and I actually have a couple of maps for you here, that you have requested, so.
So I'm putting an ad together now for engineering services. So the FA allows us to go for 5-year maximum on the engineering services contract. And that RFQ will be in the paper starting August 16th, I believe, and then their responses are due in early September and then come before the board. So that'll be for contracts starting in 2024 out for a maximum of 5 years. I think the last 2 times we've done it, DNR has been the only group that's responded to it.
So we contract with one engineer for a 5-year period to be our kind of lead on the engineering.
It's for a maximum of 5 years per the federal guidelines. We don't sign a 5-year master agreement, we just sign each individual contract
Sure.
throughout, but for a maximum of 5 years.
Sure.
So that'll be before you in September to select going forward. The only other 2 things I have is June was an all-time record. And then we'll be hearing from Spectrum Aeromed maybe at our next meeting, we're coming up here. They want to do some improvements at their expense in Hangar 9 that we own, which is their hangar down here in South GA. They want to add the restroom to their expense. So we own the hangar that's in between.
Further south, Joe.
It's not the fire,
That's
that's,
the fire department, oh jeez. Here we are, down here, hangar 9 is down between the East Terminal and Dakota Air Parts. And then they'll come forth and want to build out the lobby in the East Terminal. They're adding more employees, which we had a plan before the board some years ago when UPS came and wanted to build out an office in the north lobby, which is just kind of wasted space for us. That's in the north end of the East Terminal.
who's our tenant there?
Spectrum Aeromed. So they build
What are they?
beds. They build hospital beds for helicopters, military airplanes, in partnership with Fargo Jet Center. So it's a pretty big thing. Jason McGowan is the new president, really interesting individual. And then they're working right now with the American Legion Post 2, Rick is involved in this, to see if they could take over the storage space that the American Legion has that has ramp access on the first floor. And we're looking for 200 square feet for the American Legion, someplace to move their storage, which could be in the basement, we'll see. So that'll come before you. So, but that's all that I have.
I had a couple things, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
One is one of my interests in serving on the board is the business aviation people that are here using Hector. And I would kind of say it'd be like Shields, Bell Bank, RDO, Butler Machinery, Sanford, and then there's several others that are really using planes not for pleasure, but really for business. And I would like to kind of maybe have like a brown bag lunch with them, not that the whole board would have to be there, but I would like to be there and just ask them, how can we improve as Hector Airport Authority to help you grow your business or provide the services you need here on Hector? And so, and I'm just throwing that out to see if you think that's an okay idea or not, or.
It's been a while since we've done that. We do some of those things in partnership with Fargo Jet Center, have a pilot for it. Talk about improvements on the airfield, master plan stuff, to try to keep them up to speed. There's usually pretty good attendance. Sometimes they can make it, they don't, but we've done that in the past. It's probably the time to do it again.
Okay, well, maybe Sean and I can just work on that, invite people, but I don't think you need.
Set a time, invite them in.
Sure.
What's that?
Set a time and invite them in, we'll host them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just think I look at who are our stakeholders, and obviously the commercial airlines are our stakeholders, and our customers that are flying. Then the other is the businesses that are growing here. And everyone else here, Jet Center, parking, these are all vendors that are supporting that. And so I think having, the other thing is, there anything we need from the State Aeronautics Commission? I'm gonna spend the next day or so with the chairman of that board. Is there anything that we would like them to be aware of?
Yeah, we have monthly and sometimes 3 times a week meetings with the aeronautics and the FAA, CIP or project updates. So we're pretty well aware of what our CIP is, and they'll be here, is it August 7th, Jeff, with the FAA to go through another round of CIP reviews.
So what are we asking for from them now? What's
Well,
that?
it's funding, and they're aware of that, so they provided us almost $3 million in funding for this grant round. And they're aware that there's still some pending grants where there's eligible amounts that can still contribute. For instance, for the design of the terminal expansion, there's another $2.3 million that they'll be providing us next year to go towards 50% of the cost of that. They help us with the FA as well to, in the congressional delegation, to lobby for those funds.
Sure.
So yeah, they're partners with us in the FA here to do that. So they do a great job. I mean, it's
I'll see if they have any other buckets of money.
Yeah.
Just saying.
The prairie dog funds, and that's something that Kyle Warner can explain to you, or the chair. They tried to get the order of the buckets changed in the last legislative session, and they weren't successful in doing that, to get the prairie dog fund ahead of another fund, and I can't remember the name of it. But, do you remember, Jordan?
It's just the fund of, they can spend it on whatever they want, they would have that $400 million in front of all of these other things that are probably more important.
Jordan's the Secretary Treasurer for the Airport Association of North Dakota, so he's involved in a lot of
cool.
that stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's probably more support.
So you're on the board then?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. But it's
The
a
Airport
volunteer.
The Airport Association of North Dakota, not the North Dakota Aviation Association.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
All the same letters in a different order.
Right. Don't you worry. Not confusing at all.
Funding.
Yeah, so it's strategically working on ways to convince the delegation. There's another plan, I know Tom Schauer is on for Meat and Hunt, who's been helping us with the presentations, if you will, that went one before the Aeronautics Commission for the current grant round, and then also working on the presentation for the FA, not only locally but regionally, which will then lead us to headquarters in the FA and then to the congressional delegation there for the $29 million in funding that's in our cash flow plan. So we hope to have all of those meetings done by sometime in October. But there's another strategy for the state of North Dakota itself. And I don't know, Tom, if there's anything that you want to mention, I don't want to put you on the spot, but we have a state strategy as well that would be similar to how the state funded airport improvements in Dickinson, Williston, Watford City, Tioga, state direct grants on loans. And I think Fargo hopefully could be in line for something like that.
That's a state grant.
They were direct state grants through the Aeronautics Commission. But I don't know, Tom, is there anything you want to add on that?
No, you're exactly right. That they went through the state. What we generally do is work with the state legislators. It comes out as generic in the legislation, but there's kind of a backroom discussions that, let's say it's $50 million, that if the airport targeted doesn't use all 50, that remaining amount can be reallocated to another airport. But it's kind of a handshake agreement where we try to take care of airports like Fargo, and we'll work with you on that.
We'd like a seat at that backroom meeting. So, yeah, well, anyway, it's gonna be, I'll have an opportunity to meet with our delegation this week too. So if there's any specific things on who you're working with, we can talk about that later. But
Yeah.
anyway,
I've got the staff names.
I mean, you can let me know.
Now, when we're doing the fly-through presentation by Mead and Hunt, is that August 8th or the 22nd?
15th.
The 15th, okay.
It'll be about an hour where they're gonna unveil what it's gonna look like inside the terminal.
Would we
You
wanna,
made some suggestions.
yeah, would we want to invite some people to that? Yes, the 15th. Would we wanna invite, like Kyle or Senator Hovind or?
Yeah, I probably would join virtually, possibly.
Yeah, I think anyone that's putting money into it or anyone that we need more money put into it, we should for sure ask them to be a part of it.
Mayor,
City Commission, mayor, the delegation, any of our local, state.
Yeah, this kind of relates
Stakeholders.
back to Flint. I mean, getting them involved to get that marketing for this, who are our key stakeholders in this expansion.
We'll
I
have
think
room
that'd be
to
a-
accommodate that, or
good opportunity.
A lot of them probably would join virtually, but we can set up stuff in here if there's that many that come.
Well, we don't have to meet here either. I mean, if you're
It's a
expecting
bigger
a lot of people, there's a lot of places we could
Yep.
hold our meeting. Anyway,
Well, it's an exciting time for the airport and it'd be a good opportunity to do that outreach. And get some more
City's
people.
got- I think city's got capability, hopefully good ones.
I would think so, yeah.
So if we're bigger than this room,
Yeah, I mean, I think this is kind of part of the marketing to the region of our customers that are gonna be using the airlines going forward.
right,
In my opinion, and so I think this is part of that overall marketing, so people know, hey, Fargo's growing, they're expanding, they're working on more flights. That'll be great for me, cause I'll have more access, direct flights and that kind.
Probably time to invite West Fargo and
Yeah,
county.
yeah,
in
yeah.
At the same time.
Cause we're, even though we've got this financing figured out, we need the support of the public.
Yeah.
You know, in this new project, and the worst thing in the world is you finish a project and the public looks at it and they go, oh, that's ugly. We spent what on it? Yeah, so I think, you know.
Generate enthusiasm,
Yeah.
excitement, interest.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
All right,
partners.
so are we comfortable, who's gonna expand that list?
Okay, should we consider another location?
If you're gonna open it up, you're probably talking another 10 to 20 people invited, I don't know, this one would get pretty.
Yeah, I mean, I
We
think.
maybe
I
have
think-
some press.
Yeah, but let them put it together, figure out what we have.
Yeah.
And, you know, where we have it is, to me, we wanna accommodate people in the best environment. We have everyone virtual or whatever, I mean, let our staff figure that piece out, I think.
Okay,
But yeah, the more we can get, the better, and as a board member, I'd be more than willing to call and invite people personally too, cause that always seems to help.
mm-hmm.
All right, anything else?
We could have free ice cream.
Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second,
Second.
all in favor say aye.
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 Meeting adjourned.